Jerry Jones my money? That guy.
I'm sick of this.
He's not your cup of tea.
It's ridiculous.
What the hell is going on?
All right, everybody. This is the Philly Experience Podcast. Great to be with you tonight. Joined as always by Tyler Hood, Tanner Gomar, and I'm your host, Max Gretzula. Hope everybody's safe and well this weekend. And I'll tell you who's not well: Philadelphia Eagles. Coming off another loss this past weekend. They got a ton of problems. Injuries. We'll start with Lane Johnson and Deshaun Jackson. Alshon Jeffrey already all ruled out for this weekend against
bunch of low lives.
Tanner and I already dove into it on the Bird's Nest, so we'll give you the floor to begin with here. Can't be too happy with this team. The L's are building up. Only one win through 5 weeks. And also, doesn't get any easier. We got the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. Lamar Jackson comes to Philly. It's not looking good.
I am highly disappointed because, we all predicted a loss. We all predicted, all three of us predicted that the Philadelphia Eagles would lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, I did not expect that the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was really a team that's really built today on its defense to keep teams pretty much under 20 points, and for their offense to just pretty much grind everything out. That's pretty much how their team is built. I did not expect them to hang a 38-point bird on us. That I did not see coming. Okay, that was absolutely pitiful, outrageous, and just utterly stupid play calling on behalf of Jim Schwartz. All right, this loss falls square on him, and I don't care what anybody says about his lack of talent, about the simple fact that he doesn't have any linebackers and all this types of stuff, and the lack of cornerback depth and safety depth. Look, all that stuff is true, and I'll give everybody that. That's perfectly fine. But what you cannot make an excuse for is play calling. If you know that you have a deficiency, you do everything that you can to cover up that deficiency. Okay? For example, one thing that I thought was a strength on this team, it was our defensive line, but we only got to Ben Roethlisberger one time on Sunday. That's pitiful. That's sorry. That's outrageous. We're paying this defensive line so much money to get to the quarterback, but yet and still they're not doing the one job that we're paying them for, and that is getting to the damn quarterback. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for it. All right? There is absolutely no reason why this defensive line should be underperforming the way they're doing. All right? We're not even going to talk about the linebackers. We already know that they're sorry. All right? We already know that. And then to make matters worse, and one of the things that I broke it down on this week's Gridiron Films episode. All right, if your defense is predicated on getting to the quarterback, then your corners ought to be playing closer to the line of scrimmage. If I'm not mistaken, if that's your strategy, because when your corners play 7+ yards off the line of scrimmage, that allows the right receiver to first off get a free release. So now he's running at full force. Then that opens up a whole mill of possibilities, like the comeback route, the curl route, the hitch route, real quick, 5-yard catch. Easy stuff that can build momentum for an offense. And then when those cornerbacks, as we've seen with Jalen Mills year after year after year, when they start biting on that route, then they get beat over the top. And that's pretty much what we see in the entire game against Pittsburgh. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Maybe it's just me. I am so sick and tired of seeing the damn wide receiver end around. Why have we not figured out how to stop that damn play? For what? Are you kidding me? What is wrong with this team? What is wrong with Jim Schwartz? We've seen it every year, and it has not been stopped.
We all agree with you. It's been a frustrating process, and I agree with you on the end around thing. It doesn't look like our linebackers have any speed to get to the outside and stop the receivers. And I want to ask you this question here. We let Chase Claypool explode for 7 catches, 110 yards. Now, you think going into the game, if we're going to get beat by somebody, it's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster or James Conner. But I've been a Chase Claypool fan for years now. I know he's a good receiver. Being a Notre Dame college football fan, that's where he went to college. But to expect 4 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 3 through the air, and this
we know it's hard.
That's pretty absurd. So Why were we just struggling to contain this guy all day long?
It was a lack of play calling and a lack of changing and adjusting to what's going on at hand. Listen, the game of football is like chess. You may come in with a strategy, but best believe you're going to have to change that strategy and adjust your strategy according to what's going on the field. And that's about as basic as I can put it. All right. If you've seen that Chase Claypool was going off and pretty much beating every corner, all right, let's make some adjustments. Let's have your linebackers drop off underneath. All right. If you're going to have your corners play over the top of Chase Claypool, have your linebackers drop off underneath and really look after Chase Claypool. And then one of the most inexcusable things I think I have ever seen. Okay. Chase Claypool at that point had 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns. How do you not know to keep an eye on him this time in the most crucial part of the game when he's lined up in the damn slot and you have your worst linebacker on the team? All right, and Nate Gary lined up against him. Are you kidding me right now? Who was supposed? Nobody was gonna call a timeout. Nobody was gonna adjust. Nobody seen. Oh, wait a minute. This ain't cool. Call timeout or shift the defense. Oh, the only thing you're gonna say in the press conference is, oh, well, Big Ben just made a good adjustment and he made an audible. You make a stinking audible. You had plenty of time to make a damn audible your damn self. There's no excuses.
See, the whole city of Philadelphia hears you on that point. Jim Schwartz, definitely not his best coach.
Gosh.
Now, Tanner, flipping over to the other side of the ball here, we want to talk about Travis Fulgham and another huge game for him. 10 catches, 152 yards. Listen, this guy's been great for the past 2 weeks. Now, small sample size, but you got to like his talent and what you've seen from him. One thing I haven't liked all season long was the inconsistency, and I brought this up on previous shows. Every other team, like San Fran and Pittsburgh, they have a good, I guess with the exception of George Kittle, they have a good way of spreading the ball around to their players offensively. Now, Travis Fulgham gets 10 catches, 152 yards. The next guy is Greg Ward with 4 catches. Like every week, like I mentioned before, it's somebody new, and there's no consistency with this team. Now, listen, Travis Fulgham looks like the real deal, but Tanner, I mean, is this going to be continuous throughout the rest of the season, or is it going to be another thing where, maybe Zach Ertz all of a sudden has a huge game because he struggled, tomorrow or this weekend against the Birds or against the Ravens? Excuse me.
Now, if this is last week and you asked me this question, if Fulgham is going to play the same, I would have said that maybe he's just a one-hit wonder. But this Steelers game, I think, really proved that Fulgham is going to be our top receiver going forward. Now, going into the season, you knew Godwin wasn't playing. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson were not going to be on the field for quite some time. So you looked at Greg Ward, as you mentioned, he had 4 catches, but just for 26 yards. And then Arcega-Whiteside, he has 37 yards, just 1 catch. And before the show, T and I were discussing his celebration after that catch and if it really would have mattered if instead of celebrating, he quick hurried up, gave the ball the official, and got down the field.
Even if it didn't matter, it's still celebrating in that moment.
Right before halftime, too. I know you're trying to get down there, clock it, get a field goal before halftime.
That bad move.
But then going back to the inconsistency of these receivers and just this whole team, in all, you have Zach Ertz, just 1 catch for 6 yards. Miles Sanders had more yards than Zach Ertz receiving-wise in this game against the Steelers. Sanders caught 2 balls, 19 yards. And then since we're on Sanders, let's go to the run game, how inconsistent this run game is. I mentioned it on the Bird's Nest. Sanders gets that 74-yard run to the house in the first half of the game.
Beautiful.
He gets the goal line
on
rush.
A draw play.
And then silence the rest of the game. He finishes with 80 yards. Of course, he had some negative rushes after that in the second, but it was just silence. Scott got the ball 1 time, rushed for 3 yards.
Scott shouldn't even be getting the ball.
Clement didn't even touch the ball. I would give Clement the ball over Scott. That's just me personally.
Agreed.
That's
the only problem with Corey Clement is the simple fact that I don't know what's going on with him, but he has regressed skill wise in certain areas in which came natural to him. On one play,
we just don't want to run the football, T.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, about the running backs in this Philadelphia Eagles offense is it's one thing for them to be able to pick up yardage on the run and be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. But one of the more important things that they really value is pass protection, blocking for the quarterback. Corey Clement let up one of the sacks on a play action pass. Just completely missed the safety coming in on the blitz. And unfortunately, Corey Clement's not necessarily in high regards on this Eagles coaching staff right now.
It's a shame too, because he had such a good Super Bowl season, and since then injuries have kind of hindered his progress, but he hasn't really even been given the opportunity to perform at a high level because he has Miles Sanders and Boston Scott working ahead of him. But listen, Miles Sanders gets 11 carries now. I know they got Bud Dupree, and that Pittsburgh defensive line is really good, but I don't know what it is with Doug Peterson not wanting to run the football. I mean, I really think he's a good offensive mind, but as the head coach and the offensive coordinator all mixed into one, sometimes I just think it can be too much. It's not that he can't do it. It's just I don't know why he doesn't want to focus on just the head coaching role. I know he's called plays throughout his career here in Philadelphia.
We're going backwards, damn it. Let's go.
Would you guys like to see someone else come in here and maybe start calling these plays? I mean, he just doesn't want to run the football. I get it. You have Wentz, and this is a passing league now. But to only run the ball with Sanders 11 times, I know he's getting bottled up. You just have to keep the defense honest. And, you're right, Tanner. He did break that one run, and otherwise he was quiet the rest of the day. I just think you need to mix it up a little bit more. And he even tried doing the end arounds and stuff. Like these other teams are doing it against us. Why can't we do it against them? One thing that we went out in the offseason and got was speed for these receivers. That's what we were all talking about after the draft. John Hightower, names like that, how fast these guys are. We have to come up with a different strategy here. And kind of come up with a Sean McVay type of play calling, so to speak, where he just gets all these end arounds, motion guys moving all over the place pre-snap, and then all of a sudden you get Tyler Higbee wide open down the field in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown.
That's one of the biggest complaints that people have this season is the lack of creativity in this offense.
There is none.
And to answer your question, Max, I would love to have an offensive coordinator. I'm not going to question Doug Peterson's play calling. At times it is questionable, but I will question his play design because he doesn't have an offensive coordinator, so now everything falls on him.
Right.
His offensive creativity is really not there, and it's really lacking. Like, okay, you can get guys open on slants and whatnot, but where's the creativity? Like you said, where's the pre-snap motion to be able to get the defense leaning and confused? All right, and you have a guy running wide open in the middle of the field. Where's stuff like that? Like why is it that teams know exactly what this team is going to do each and every single week? That's an issue. There's a lack of creativity. Now, supposedly they brought back Marty Mornhinweg and another guy that slips from mind. They brought those guys back to, help out with the play calling, not necessarily play calling, but the play designs and the creativity, but I'm just not seeing it. And why they give up on the run so much is beyond my comprehension. Yes, you're going to go backwards a couple of times, but guess what? If you're going to be a play action team, one of the things that makes Sean McVay's offense work is the run game. All right.
Yep.
It's that run game that opens everything up, because if that run game gets working 3, 4, 5 yards a pop, guess what? Now it's second and 6. It's second and 5. Now you only got 5 more yards to get a first down. You don't necessarily have to go for a home run hit immediately. All you got to do is just get a base hit. And it's things like that. Like, you can complicate things and make things confusing, but simplify them all at the same time. And you're honestly, you're just confusing yourself. I don't know what the heck is going on with this offensive play design, but it's not creative, none whatsoever.
Right. What you were mentioning about spreading out the ball on the run game and just keep pounding it. We saw that on the other side of the ball. The Steelers, McLeod, he rushed twice, but he had 63 yards. Connor, 15 rushes, 44 yards. And then Snell, 7 rushes, 19 yards. They're spreading the ball out. The Eagles, just Sanders and 1 carry for Scott. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I fully believe Sanders can, as we've mentioned on the show before, can be a 3-down running back.
Easily.
I just don't understand. We're kind of wasting his talent at this point.
Yeah, look, to mention the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and their running game, I think one thing Pittsburgh realized last year was that James Conner is injury prone. He's super talented, but injury prone. They go out and get Benny Snell in the draft, and they also get Anthony McFarland Jr. in the draft out of Maryland. And these guys are really talented. McLeod, like you mentioned, 2 carries. And these guys spread the ball around too on the ground. I know Connor's the bell cow. He's going to get 15-plus carries a game. But when you have a guy like Benny Snell who can step right in there and contribute as well, James Conner doesn't have to be on the field every single play, and that's something we lack right now. Behind
I
Miles
want
Sanders.
winners.
So listen, these are things that we won't be able to address, at least not every single issue before the trade deadline. But there's definitely big names that can be moved, and I think Wentz and his time here in Philadelphia, it could be up soon. Jalen
Wow.
Hurts, the people are saying that he's looking really good in practice. This week, he's actually playing the Lamar Jackson role on the other side of the football during the scrimmages that they're having in preparation for the game. So, I mean, we'll see. Zach Ertz is still another name I'd like to see get traded before the deadline. Listen, 6 targets on Sunday and only 1 catch for 6 yards. I mean, that just can't happen. This guy wants what? This guy wants $80 million. He wants George Kittle money? Are you kidding me, Tay?
This contract is really bothering Zach Ertz, and it's bothering him in a number of ways. One of the plays that I highlighted on Gridiron Films this week was the the first interception that Carson Wentz had. It was really on Zach Ertz. The reason being is that Zach Ertz is going to run his traditional in and out. You know, he's going to fake to the outside and then break inside. All right, that's one of his infamous routes that he's been very successful with in his career. However, he gets bumped on the route, and the first thing he does is put his hands up for a flag. Listen, and that's another thing too that it really irritated me on Sunday. All right, okay, the referees were bad, but there's no excuse. All right, I seen 2 complaints, and that was with Zach Ertz, and that was with the defense on that Chase Claypool screen for a touchdown. What the heck are you looking to the referees for to bail you out? No, this is a game of football. Man up, play football. All right, this isn't mamby-pamby land. Don't be playing patty cake with them. Man up, do what you got to do. Zach Ertz, you are 6'5", 250 pounds. All right, the most a corner will weigh is 200, maybe a little over 200 pounds. Are you bleeping kidding me? Move him out the way if he's in your way. Come on, man.
With Dallas Goedert being out, we thought Zach Ertz was going to step up his production, and I don't want to hear the double team excuse. If he's double team, yes, he'll have less production. That's just how it goes. But that leaves one-on-one situations for other players. You know, what's going on there? I guess your argument could be, we put up 29 points on the road against the Steelers. But when you don't play a complete game on both sides of the ball, you're not going to win. And, to make matters worse, you have to go face a rushing attack from Baltimore that's second to none in the league, their quarterback. And also their running game, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, a veteran that's been around this league a while. And then you have Hollywood Brown at his speed to deal with on the outside. So, Darius Slay will get that draw, I guess you could say, this weekend. So
the Baltimore Ravens live off of pre-snap reads and confusion. All right, one of their favorite formations is the pistol. The reason being is that there are many variations within that pistol, especially when you have a dynamic quarterback like Lamar Jackson back there who can fit it into anywhere that he wants to, not to mention the dynamic receivers that they have, including Hollywood Brown. I don't feel confident going into this game this Sunday against Baltimore. As a matter of fact, I think we're 7.5-point underdogs at home.
Now bumped up to 9.5 point underdogs.
Wow.
I think Hurts sees the field and is playing for more than just a play in this upcoming game against the Ravens.
I hear you.
It's just gonna, for me personally, I think it's gonna be a blowout.
It is.
And I think that's the obvious answer. You'd like to say that the Eagles are gonna surprise people, but I just don't see that happening. I'm not a betting man, but if I were to bet, I would not bet that the Eagles would come close to beating the Ravens.
This is some
And
bullshit.
Lamar Jackson, he's coming off an average game for himself last week against the Bengals, and I think he is just going to capitalize on this Eagles defense, who have allowed the 6th most passing touchdowns at 10.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think he didn't even need to be a superstar last week against a poor Cincinnati Bengal team. They only scored 3 points. Got beat by almost 4 touchdowns there in Baltimore. So
and Tanner, I know you're the stats guy, but I found this stat to be very interesting. One of the stats that this Philadelphia Eagles defense used to be good at was stopping and run. They pretty much used to be top 5. Now we're the 17th best rushing defense in the NFL. That's below average. And against this Baltimore Ravens team, who likes to run a variety of run plays, including that zone read option, in which we, for some reason or another, cannot stop for some reason because our ends keep crashing in. It's going to be a long day, fellas.
Yeah. Just to add more insult to injury for the Eagles defense, when a wide receiver gets that running play, the Eagles are terrible with that. They're susceptible to I think if not the most, they've given up a lot of rushing yards to wide receivers. We saw it with Claypool. He had a rushing touchdown, and that's just the theme for the Eagles defense is just they have good people. They have great players on the defensive line. It's just the secondary, as we mentioned over and over and over again. There's a problem with that. We got Darius Slay in the offseason still. I just want to bring this stat up for you while we're on Darius Slay. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but if not, so Darius Slay, 196 snaps in coverage, 30 targets, 20 catches allowed, and 200 yards. I'm going to compare him to a blank player. This player's name is blank.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
182 snaps in coverage, 24 targets, 16 catches allowed, 129 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
I wonder.
Do you have a guess at this player? He was once on the Eagles.
I'm guessing one of two players you're talking about.
I know exactly.
You're either talking about Sidney Jones or Rasul Douglas. And if you do, I'm going to lose my freaking mind.
It's Rasul Douglas.
Yep, Rasul Douglas.
Pull your head out of your ass.
See, now that's coaching to you, and you've been preaching. These coaches haven't been able to get the job done. They haven't been able to find the talent inside of these players.
It's not even coaching, though, because you knew Rasul Douglas was not a bad player. And he's a pretty decent player. We saw that, especially in that game. Was it the Packers game where he really shined?
Yes.
Coming in late in that game. Okay, I understand Sidney Jones. His time was over here. You can't give too much time to a player like him who's only coming in occasionally. He's a closer. He was basically our closer.
Yeah, he was a second-round pick. You can't give up on those too quickly.
Yeah.
And my thing, my thing was, man, and now Sidney Jones he's balling out with Jacksonville. Like they're not really missing that much of a beat, and I'm really disappointed in that because those two should be our outside corners, or at the very minimum, let's have Darius Slay added to those two, and now we have a formidable cornerback room.
Yeah,
instead of the crap that we have now.
Report came out today relating to Jim Schwartz and Howie Roseman that Jim Schwartz actually wanted Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma, in the draft.
According to Adam Kaplan. Yep.
Exactly. And instead, Howie Roseman doesn't take that advice. And, it could have paid dividends for us this year. Kevin Murray playing pretty solid with the Los Angeles Chargers. And, Howie Roseman's a name that we brought up before, but we haven't really dove too much into. I know that we all have our issues with him, and I just feel like his time has been, I don't want to say that his time is up yet, but it's certainly getting there. I think one major thing is because of the fact that he won a Super Bowl here, and he's really close with Jeffrey Lurie. That's one of the reasons he's still here. But when you look at how this team's assembled and just the cliff that we've fallen off over the past few years since the Super Bowl, I've never seen anything like it.
As Tanner once said,
what's he here for?
Seriously, I feel that way about Howie Roseman at this point. Straight up.
Let me ask you guys this. Who's gone first after this loss against the Ravens? Who's gone first? Howie Roseman, Jim Schwartz, or even Doug Peterson, which I don't see happening at all.
Jim Schwartz
I think we're all pretty much still on Doug Peterson's side. For the most part,
Jim Schwartz is would probably be the scapegoat. I don't see them getting rid of him unless the Baltimore Ravens just set a record against this Eagles defense.
Listen, I think Jim Schwartz is probably top half, maybe even higher as far as defensive coordinators go.
Really? I don't see it.
I think he's top 15.
Really?
I think he's top 15. Yeah, I do. I think a big reason that maybe his time's coming to an end is because he's been here 5 years already. And I know people like to move on from coordinators. They don't really last too long in one spot. But at the end of the day, Jim Schwartz could be a scapegoat. And I do think that, Howie Roseman will not get rid of Doug Peterson or Jeffrey Lurie for that matter. I just think Doug Peterson's here for a few years. And I think these three kind of all go hand in hand. I don't think Doug's gone. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd pick Doug over Howie because I know how close Jeffrey Lurie is with Howie Roseman, but I don't think Howie's going to just kick Doug out of town here.
But that relationship's got to be severed, man. Jeffrey Lurie has got to see that Howie Roseman is really the one true mastermind behind all of this because
I don't know.
You have a special connection with these older players for some odd reason, which I've never understood. And then You don't help out your defense at all, hardly, especially in the linebacker position. You've completely neglected the linebacker position to the point where now it is embarrassing to march out the current linebacker core that we have now.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. We didn't address that at all. In fact, we went out and got a third tackle. We went out and got Hargrove instead of spending money at the linebacker position. And now when you start a football game, you have Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, and then you have a guy you're paying millions of dollars to, and Hargrave on the bench on the sideline to open the game. I mean, why would you take that money and invest in depth at a place you're already good at when you could easily go out there and get a solid linebacker? I just don't understand.
And I agree with bulking up the defensive line because they like to rotate them. That's fine. I don't have no problem with that.
But that's something where you do that if you're good everywhere else.
Exactly.
You want to do it as a luxury.
Exactly.
When we're good in the Super Bowl year, you have corners and safeties now, Jalen Mills and Roddy McLeod. To be honest with you, who in the world is our third safety? I couldn't even give it to you. That's how weak we are back there.
Some good news coming out is that Will Parks is going to come back for this Sunday's game, so hopefully that bolsters up our safety position. But man, it's pitiful. It truly is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tanner.
Going back to Howie Roseman and Jim Schwartz, I do think that Jim Schwartz would be gone before Howie Roseman. But what I do see happening is not Howie Roseman being fired, but him stepping down. I think if we're in week 9 and these Eagles have not had another win, they're still at 1 win, I think that Howie Roseman will step down. I think there'll be an understanding between him and Jeffrey Lurie, and I think I think that'll be more likely than him just being outright fired. I mean, you saw it with the Texans. Even though Bill O'Brien was fired, he had a press conference after that, thanking the team and everything, which is weird because he kind of did pull a Chip Kelly over there in Houston.
Kind of. He did.
He definitely.
You got rid of the best receiver in the NFL. Jackass.
Very weird to see him smiling and talking to the press and thanking Houston.
Yeah, I mean,
for
listen, he's
allowing
rich.
him to take over.
He's rich.
Yeah.
I guess when you're rich like that, you can smile. But man, what a dumpster fire he left there in Houston.
Wow.
I mean, you trade for a running back in David Johnson who's past his prime.
You piece of
give
Swiss
up the
cheese.
best receiver in the league. But again, part of that's not his fault. Listen, if he gets offered a job as general manager and head coach all in one, you're going to take it regardless. But yeah, Houston, that's an interesting situation. But they did look good last weekend against Jacksonville, so we'll see what happens there. If it's a team we'll keep an eye on. But again, I want to mention one thing we haven't, and that's Mark Andrews for the Baltimore Ravens. How in the world are we going to stop this guy? This dude is a freak athlete. He's what I wish Zach Ertz was at this point in time, and we don't have anybody in the world to cover this guy. I mean, listen, you want to put a corner on him, he'll just bulldoze right over him. If you want to put a linebacker on him, it's just going to embarrass him.
These linebackers? Oh, gosh.
Yeah. What I see happening all game is our players are just going to get the Josh Norman treatment. They're going to get thrown over the whole field. Just a bunch of Josh Normans on the field just getting thrown over.
Yeah, what do you guys?
It's going to be embarrassing.
It's funny to me too.
I think we all know where the season's headed, and it's not going to result in a playoff, performance or playoff berth. So when you look at this down the line here, as far as the coach and the connection between the GM and the ownership, the one thing that we haven't seen in a while is change. Right? We've seen Doug here multiple years. Howie's been here a long time, and Jeffrey Lurie, obviously. What is it going to take for these relationships to finally be like cut off? Because listen, these guys have gone through playoff games together. They've gone through a Super Bowl together. When is it going to is it going to be okay? They all have to mutually come to an agreement and be like, oh, this is a time where we all need to step away and need to change of direction, like you mentioned, Tanner, with Bill O'Brien, or are these guys going to be hard-headed and say, listen, I think you're the problem and not me? For example, if Doug Peterson going to say, listen, I think Howie Roseman is the problem. Do you think they'll turn on each other like that, or is it all going to have to be mutual?
You know what? I think it all starts from the top, honestly. Jeffrey Lurie has to see exactly what the heck is going on. He has to understand that, honestly, man, what is going out there on the field today is just a straight up cluster. All right? It's horrible. And it starts with Howie Roseman. It starts with the fact that this man cannot draft. He stinks at drafting, and that is one of the core things that good teams, great teams build upon. You want to know the reason why that the Dallas Cowboys are ahead of us right now? Drafting. They draft well. Yes, they're still the Dallas Cowboys, and they choke at the end of it all the time. But the reason why they're able to keep their heads afloat is drafting. They draft well. The Seattle Seahawks, even after getting rid of the Legion of Boom, you know what's keep them afloat? Drafting. You want to know why the Cincinnati Bengals are on the rise? Drafting. The Bills, drafting. Young players that they're developing, coaching them up, and bringing them into the system, putting them in the position that makes them succeed the most. We don't do that. We put square pegs in round holes. We draft projects. I don't have a problem with us drafting Jalen Reagor, but in the second round, we could have picked up a linebacker, all right? But instead, we wasted it on Jalen Hurts. Then, in the third round, we did draft a linebacker, which we have yet to see so far in Davion Taylor. Supposedly, he's a project because he's only played football for 2 years. Why would you draft a project that high? I've always said in the first 3 rounds is where good and great teams are separated from. Those rounds are picks that help the foundation of a football team. We stink at that in recent years. Okay, let's go back. Let's just talk first rounders. All right. So Jalen Reagor's hurt, but Jalen Reagor has showed promise. So I'm not gonna attack that.
Say that he showed promise, but
He's shown promise.
He's got potential.
Yes.
He caught the ball.
Compared to the rest of the guys I'm about to bring up.
He can run fast. There you go.
Okay, Andre Dillard, injury reserve, was behind Jason Peters, has yet to see the field.
Dillard's time is almost up.
If Jordan Mailata keeps playing the way he does, yes.
Prediction is Jordan Mailata is the future left tackle. Yes,
all right.
I agree.
Derek Barnett, all right, still has yet to have a double-digit sack season. This is disappointing.
Tate, I want to ask you guys this question. When's the last time the Eagles picked a player and you jumped out of your seat and you were like, wow, that's a great pick. I'm excited. And you're jumping for joy.
It's been a nice little while, unfortunately.
Even when Carson got drafted, we kind of knew that he was going to be taken. It's not like we jumped up and we were, excited. Like, we kind of knew it was already coming. I don't remember a single time where, I've heard a name picked where I got up and I was like, wow, like, yes, like this guy's a stud. Especially you guys know me being a big college football fan. Like, I watch a lot of college players.
I don't know.
I haven't. We're going to go ahead, Tanner. What do you think? Have you heard? What is the name where you were
I liked Miles Sanders getting picked, although it was speculated. I did like seeing Miles Sanders get picked by us. And watching him play at Penn State, I was able to see his best game at Penn State.
I liked it, but I didn't jump for joy
for what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. I liked it, but I didn't jump for joy necessarily. Now, I think the last time I jumped for joy was on 2 occasions, and that was when LaShawn McCoy was drafted and Fletcher Cox was drafted. That's the only times I've jumped for joy for a draft.
Fletcher Cox is probably the last time where I was like, wow, this guy is just going to be here for years to come as a solid defensive tackle. Watching him play in college, agreed 100%. And it's so sad because how many years ago is that now? 7 years?
Yeah, he's something 30 now. He's 30.
It's crazy to think about, and I agree. How he's had 7 years, 8 years since a pick is wild to me, and it's just, how is he still here, man? It's embarrassing. Look, product on the field.
How about a year ago when we skipped on DK Metcalf?
Oh my God!
Now, how much does that hurt? Right now, watching how he played in that Seahawks game,
I get that.
It's just incredible.
Us as fans, we want the sexy pick, we want the flashy running back, we want the flashy receiver. But when you have an opportunity to draft Kenneth Murray, just a solid linebacker at Oklahoma. This dude was the team captain, the leader of the defense. You don't get the opportunity to draft those guys so often, especially when they're a talent like his. He was able to fall to us. He was able to fall to us, and we didn't do it. Now, if when we hear a linebacker get taken, we're like, okay, like it's fine. But years down the road, you look there and you're like, wow, like that dude is going to just be. You're not going to have to worry about him. He's going to be in there and he's going to play every game, every snap. And I know that nowadays people want to get more rest as far as coaching, but still, these guys that we've drafted, these guys are coming towards the back end of their careers. I'd say Lane Johnson arguably is on the downhill climb now, and Jason Kelsey obviously maybe only has this year left. Brandon Brooks, who knows,
is an outrage.
Major injuries. Jason Peters, who's been around forever. I know we haven't heard his name because he's been hurt, but he's still on the team.
I am
all these
pissed
guys
off.
are from that are still with us, with the exception of Lane Johnson on the O-line, is from the Andy Reid era.
And you haven't replaced or tried to at least develop a backup or develop their replacement. And that's on upper management, man. That is a serious.
Think about the Alshon Jeffrey trade. I wanted to go back
management.
to this for a second. Think about the Alshon Jeffrey trade. When he made that trade, Howie Roseman, I was excited as hell because I knew at that time Alshon Jeffrey was probably a top 20, 15 receiver in the league in Chicago. I mean, that dude is like the Allen Robinson of right now, back when we got him.
Yeah.
And to see him kind of just fall off as quickly as he did, I mean, yeah, the injuries did, concern me, that they still do. And then at this point, I'm surprised that he's still even on the team. I think his career is almost shot.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, the same Chicago team that gave us Jordan Howard. I was excited when I saw that in the offseason. We got Jordan Howard. Great. This run game is going to be so much better.
Yes.
And then, as you mentioned with Alshon, just a drop off in production. This is a guy that was in his prime. He was 26 when we got him.
I think with Jordan Howard, go ahead.
He was top 5 in rushing yards. And then nothing we got from him. And now you see him in Miami. He's also not really doing anything. So maybe Chicago was where he was supposed to stay. But just
he wasn't bad for us though. That's the thing.
And that's what I was about to say
right now.
Yeah,
exactly. We could use him because he's that bruiser type of back.
Yes.
Yeah. We go back to the Packers game that I mentioned earlier. He had a great game, that Packers game that we mentioned with Rasul Douglas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he would be a perfect tandem with Miles Sanders. Now that Miles Sanders is the lead back, and then when we get down there around the goal line, punch it in with Jordan Howard. That's what he's known for. And he can't even get on the field in Miami, which is beyond me. I guess Myles Gaskin and Matt Breida down there holding down the fort. But hell, man, if we could, and he only cost them $10 million, right? The Dolphins got him for.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't understand what the Dolphins are going to do with all these running backs. You're talking about Le'Veon Bell, who was one of the 3 teams was the Dolphins. It was the Dolphins, Bills, and Chiefs. And now we know he goes to the Chiefs. But if Le'Veon Bell goes to the Dolphins, that's just too many running backs. I don't understand that. That's a different discussion. But yeah, Jordan Howard, the only thing about him is his injuries, that we weren't playing him in the end of the season because he was injured.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing.
Right. Yeah. The coaching staff held him out just in case. And then around that time, like you said, Miles Sanders was really starting to heat up. And then also the emergence of Boston Scott in the screen game and someone in the running game as well is what, helped propel that running game towards the end of the last season. So the need for Jordan Howard to run wasn't necessarily there. So, and I agree with you, Max, that Jordan Howard would definitely be an excellent complement to Miles Sanders right now. However, as we approach the trade deadline, honestly, the Philadelphia Eagles need to be sellers. Okay, they are going to be $70+ million over the cap. All right, that is not something that Howie Roseman is usually puts himself in a position in. All right, usually he's very good with the cap. Usually he keeps the Eagles very, very well under the cap. But for some reason, this particular time, we got to get rid of some players, and we got to get rid of some players quick. And I agree. It starts with Zach Ertz. I'm sorry. Zach Ertz has been playing soft. All right. You know what? I've said this before, and that Zach Ertz is a top 3 tight end in the NFL, bar none. However, what separates him from Travis Kelce and what separates him from George Kittle? Yards after catch, fighting through contact. Zach Ertz is a big-bodied, glorified wide receiver. All right? He is not a tight end. He is a glorified wide receiver. I'm not saying that I have a problem with that. However, the way he's been playing this season, not playing through contact and really looking lackadaisical out there, he's not performing up to his usual standards, and now Carson Wentz doesn't trust him too much, and now he's looking to an unknown kid in Travis Fulgham for catches. That's a problem. And I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think we'll be fine with Dallas Goedert. And I've said this before, even before all this came up. And Zach Ertz still has 1 more year left after this season. So even if we didn't trade him this season, he would be on the hook for 1 more season next year. Get rid of him now. While he has a little bit of value, get something back for him, because guess what? This team needs a full, complete rebuild now. You got to bring some youth.
We have to be sellers.
Yes, we got to be sellers.
I think we got to be buyers too, because you look ahead in the draft, is there any player that really catches your eye?
The only one that catches
listen,
my eye
too,
is Trevor Lawrence, but we don't need a quarterback.
We'll dive into the draft. I mean, listen, we're pretty far out still, obviously, but we'll definitely be doing that in future shows and do our research.
Yes.
But I'll give you 3 names where I would consider trading, and you might be surprised, but I would definitely consider trading Ertz. It's my top priority. But I'd also consider trading Fletcher Cox, and I'd also consider trading Carson Wentz as well.
Wow.
Here's why.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
I think Fletcher Cox, and hear me out here. I think Fletcher Cox is at that point of career yet where people still view him where he's dominant. And I think the fact that you have a younger talent behind him, and is Malik Jackson younger than Fletcher Cox, Tate?
Yes.
Max, I'm going to stop you right there. You better have the best idea in the whole entire world to back up you trading Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, I got to hear this.
I don't know if it's the best idea, but we'll see. Hear me out here.
Okay.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Fletcher Cox, first of all, Tate, you mentioned the money issue in future years, right?
True.
I mean, with Fletcher Cox on this team, are we going to the playoffs or are we getting a Super Bowl trophy with the team we have around us right now?
No.
Do we have depth behind him to still be very capable of getting a pass rush?
Yeah.
Yes, we do, because we have younger talent, first of all. And, I know we gave Malik Jackson a lot of money and Hargrave money, but not as big as Fletcher Cox's contract. We have Malik Jackson and Hargrave to back them up. We have depth at that position, and that's what you do. That's what smart GMs do. They take a place where they have depth, they trade a piece, and that's where they go and get a need. So that's my reason behind trading Fletcher Cox, because I think if you let him go another season, he has battled injuries, and he's also going to be on the wrong side of 30. So that's my reason for trading Fletcher Cox. I still think you could argue and get a first or second round pick for Fletcher Cox if you trade him today. And on top of that, don't forget, you're cutting that money.
Fair point.
You're getting under that cap to help yourself.
Fair
right?
point.
So that's number one. Ertz, you hit all the marks. He's getting, again, another guy on the wrong side of 30. You already have Dallas Goedert, cheaper version, and you can argue more talented version at this point. Definitely a better blocker, and he can still catch passes really well. So from that standpoint, again, you cut money that you're going to have to pay him if you're going to keep him, right? You're going to have to pay Ertz the contract he wants. And I know he's done a lot for the city, and he's won a Super Bowl here. But no, I think it's time to get rid of him. Get whatever you can, draft capital, and start to rebuild. And the Wentz thing, I'll put him number 3 on my list, where 99% that he's not going to get traded. But I'd at least consider it because, one, again, the money situation, you're paying him close to $130 million around there. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. I've stated this before. I told you. Wow. At best, he's a good quarterback in this league, but he's not a superstar anymore. He's not ever going to be back to his 2017 self. I hope you guys still aren't holding out hope, because I know for a fact he's not. He's just too many injuries, and it's time to rebuild here. The good news is we have cleared cap space if we get rid of him. We are also going to get a first-round pick. I guarantee you we can get a first-round pick. Somebody out there needs a quarterback. Look at the Colts. Frank Reich and Carson Wentz pair back together, you can easily get a first-round pick, in my opinion, for Carson Wentz. So if you trade Carson Wentz, clear that money off, your books are opened up to you. Go out and you can sign any free agent in the world that you want. And you have now a real, you're going to call him a project, but a guy who's capable and definitely has the legs, too. It's another thing we like. The mobile quarterbacks and Jalen Hurts. And, hey, give it a year. If it doesn't work out, you're still going to be fine everywhere else. We saw this in other cities. Look at Mahomes. They were able to win a Super Bowl before he signed that mega contract. You have Jalen Hurts literally on a rookie contract. You have him on a rookie contract. You can go out and have all the money to spend on linebacking core. You can spend on safety. You can spend on O-line, because God knows we need help there. Now, that's my opinion, and you're going to need a GM who's smart and is willing to do this. Now, are we going to trade Wentz? Probably not. No. Fine. You know what? You want to go out and beat a mediocre team for the next 5 years? Be my guest. But my opinion, full-blown rebuild mode. And I'll relate this to the Phillies. They didn't want to get rid of Rollins, Utley, and Howard. They waited too long. They paid them. And look, did we ever go back to the playoffs after we play those guys? No. Rollins finishes out his career here. He ends up getting traded. Utley finishes out his career in Philly. Then he gets traded. Howard gets hurt in that wild card game against Cardinals back in 2011. After that 08-09 run, everything was downhill. And it was quick, too. Yeah, we made the playoffs in 2010. We made the playoffs in 2011. And since then, where have we gotten? We haven't even made the playoffs since then. So that's how I've related there. What do you guys think? You guys agree with all these remarks? Or do you think I'm talking crazy with Carson Wentz?
Cox, Ertz, and Wentz, man. You're talking about breaking up basically the foundation of the team. Now, I think, well, at least me and Max agree on Zach Ertz. So there's no argument with that.
Agreed.
You
got to agree with Fletcher Cox.
You make a very compelling argument when it comes to Fletcher Cox.
You have depth
truly
there.
do.
You definitely have depth.
The depth is there, And on top of that, yes, he is on the wrong side of 30, and he's not really performing up to his standards. I mean, like I said, on Gridiron Films, you can see, the moments where he's not necessarily double teamed. He's been getting dominated. He went up against
top D tackle.
He went up against All Pro David DeCastro, guard, this past week against Pittsburgh, and he really did not do a very good job. He had a very quiet game, and that's a theme that's been really reoccurring in these weeks, is that Fletcher Cox has been having some very quiet games, and that's not necessarily good for a guy that I'm paying $100+ million for, and I'm on the hook for in terms of cap. So you make a very compelling argument with Fletcher Cox. You may have just convinced me. You just might. I might have to sleep on it, but you may have just convinced me with Fletcher Cox. Sure. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, here's my thing. Has he had a really bad season so far? Yes. He has regressed.
One of the worst.
So bad. I've never seen the regression of a quarterback like this in my life. Okay. Has he improved little by little as the weeks go on? You can make an argument for that. Am I ready to trade him? I might be forced to. Because that's the only way you can
the value's never going to be higher, T. He's not getting any younger. He's not his previous injuries and surgeries are not going to magically disappear. This is where he's at. This is how he is. He's not going to give you those flashy, I'm going to scramble out, throw off one leg and collapse type of plays. He's not going to get sacked and then he's going to randomly break out of it and run for 40 yards like he did against Washington.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing.
No more of that.
I don't expect that out of Carson Wentz anymore. But what I do expect out of Carson Wentz at this point, I need him to develop that throwing. I need him to start throwing in rhythm, throwing in motion, throwing a guy open. Like he struggles with that. Unless it's a hitch route or a slant route or something where he can just beam it right there, he struggles with that. So you make a very compelling argument with those three.
I think Ertz is a leader. I saw him lead at Oklahoma. People follow him. And on top of that, he relates to all these other guys. He doesn't have much NFL experience. Neither do the guys around him. Greg Ward is literally our leading receiver right now in games played. I just feel like it would be a better fit. They would be all more on the same page. They can relate to each other more. And that's my reason for a possible rebuild. Now, I will say this. If you're going to do this and break up at least part of it, now I'm not just saying all this is going to happen. Maybe Ertz will get lucky if he gets traded. Fletcher Cox probably isn't going anywhere, neither is Wentz. But if we're going to trade some of these guys and get these draft assets, you got to hit on them, and that's my concern right now. Yeah, okay, we do the right thing, we trade and we get these draft assets, but we have Howie Roseman who can. So what's the benefit here? You're just going to get these picks and then waste them. That's what the track record for Howie Roseman has not been good.
You're saying the same exact things that I was saying when we used to do this in the studio both, and that is if you're going to get rid of somebody, you need to have somebody behind them to replace them, and you better have a damn good GM to be able to replace them. We have a replacement for Ertz. Technically speaking, we have a supposed replacement for Wentz. Okay, Fletcher Cox, we might be able to get away with it, but I think you still need that number one pass rusher on that defensive line, which we don't have. We have rotational guys. Exactly. So you make a really good, compelling argument. Damn, I'm going to have to think about this.
Here's the issue.
To add to the argument.
Oh, go ahead, Tanner. Yeah, go ahead, Tanner. I want
to add to the argument of Jim Schwartz or Howie Roseman going first. I think what's saving Howie Roseman this season is Jalen Hurts. If we don't get any wins through week 9, Jalen Hurts is definitely put in this game. I think if Jalen Hurts performs well, all's forgiven for Howie Roseman from Jeffrey Lurie. Now, of course, the fans aren't going to forgive him.
Hell no.
But I think that's going to save. I think that might save Howie Roseman if Jalen Hurts performs very well.
Is that too late, Tanner? Is that too late waiting till week 9?
To
be good at your job, you have to notice it. The quicker you notice it and realize, the better. This is why these guys get paid millions of dollars.
Well, at this point, what do you have to lose in this season? Like, honestly, what do you have to lose? You're not, even if you do make the playoffs somehow in some way in this sorry-ass division, you're not going anywhere. Let's be honest.
I don't want to hear the division. No. I don't want to hear the division's terrible because that's fool's gold. If say we go 6-7-1, whatever it is, make the playoffs, that's fool's gold. This team's not good. We all know that.
No.
Right.
Honestly, that record would probably get us into the damn playoffs.
I'm saying to make you good at your job, especially from a GM and coaching standpoint, you recognize that this isn't going anywhere. You recognize that Carson Wentz just doesn't have it anymore. I know it sucks. Believe me, I want him to be 2017 Wentz again too, but it's not going to happen. And the quicker they realize it, the better for our organization. Why do you want to just keep, trying to be mediocre and trying to just pretend like everything's going to get better? Because it's not. I would get Hurts in there as soon as possible. I'd get Hurts in there, not this week, but I'd start giving them reps. And I know it's going to cause turmoil, right? That's why you can't just bench Carson Wentz.
No.
You would have to trade him. And, the deadline is what, 2 weeks away here?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Now, people could call me impatient for this. They could watch this and be like, wow, this guy's real impatient. He doesn't want to let Wentz go. You understand what I'm saying to you? Get healthy. He's got to let Doug and they'll figure this out. No, listen, we've all been diehard Eagles fans our entire life. There hasn't a week that we've missed watching an Eagles game. You see what I see. We're fans, but listen, we don't need to be brilliant-minded coaches to realize what we're seeing on the field. Carson Wentz isn't the same guy.
Right.
We all saw Jalen Hurts in college. We know what he is. He could be talented. Give him the shot.
Wow.
Right. You talk about starting. Maybe obviously you don't put him in this Ravens game unless it's we're getting blown out at the end of the third quarter. You put him in. But can you even put him in against a division game, the Giants, the week after this Ravens game? Is that fair to Jalen Hurts?
I think it is fair, and here's why. I say it's fair in this sense, and then I'll counter it. I think it's fair that you're putting him again against a weak offense, so he's going to get reps against a weak offense. My thing is they do have that bye right after that. So do you want to give him, the Giants game? Then he's got 2 weeks to prepare for, I forget. Would we play Dallas after the bye week too? Or I don't know off the top of my head.
We played Dallas. No, we played Dallas before the bye week, and then we come back against the Giants after the bye week.
Right. Okay, so that's again, you make a good point. Would I prepare Jalen Hurts to play against the Giants? Yes, indeed I would, because I just feel like you have to see what you have in them. Are we really gonna? First of all, Jalen Hurts isn't a first top 10 pick, right? So it's not like a Tua Tagovailoa situation where he's taking over for Fitzpatrick. True. We could put Hurts in it; he might be terrible, right? So the sooner and recognize, the better, right?
That's true. That's a very good point.
Which I, by the way, think Tua has the best situation of any rookie drafted. He has the best situation sitting on the bench and watching Ryan Fitzpatrick. I've mentioned it before, and I think he's going to do well on this Dolphins team. But now I look at the schedule, and we're talking about when's the best time to put Jalen Hurts in, and it might be the Giants game. We can argue back and forth about it, but then after the Giants, after the second Giants game, you have the Browns, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and then last week against Washington. This is a tough schedule for any team. We have the hardest schedule in the whole league.
Yeah, part of that is because of where we stood last year, finished in first place, won the division. We have to play a first place schedule this year, and that's understandable. But one thing I like about Hurts, he doesn't have the that touch like an Aaron Rodgers or putting it in the breadbasket, so to speak. He's got a powerful arm, though. Definitely has a strong arm.
I can agree.
The thing I like about him is the legs, being able to get out of the pocket and scramble and run. I like him on the goal line in the Cam Newton role, being able to call his own number and punch it in. He's done that a bunch of times at Alabama before he lost his job to Tua. Now, I just want to see him out there, and I want to see him get out there and just get experience, right? I just want to get him experience and see. At least you have some things on tape going into the offseason, Tanner. That's why I asked you if week 9 was a little too late. We'll see. But I just want to have some tape going into the offseason where you can kind of – coaches, especially not us, but coaches can see and, kind of see and judge where he is talent-wise. But, again, strong arm, mobile, doesn't have like that Patrick Mahomes, that Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we're talking about some of the greats. He's not going to be one of those guys. But can he be a top 12 QB in this league? Can he be better than a Jared Goff? I certainly think he has the capability. I think he's got the capability of being better than a Jared Goff.
I think we can coach you up and you can be better than Jared Goff. But we're not talking about that right now.
That's my point. I mean, you're talking about first overall pick in Jared Goff. Could he be better than a Ryan Tannehill? Possibly. I'm kind of throwing him in that 12 range category with the upside. That's the thing. He has more upside than these other guys. He has more upside than Goff because Goff's been in the league much longer.
Right.
Tannehill, he had a poor situation in Miami. He goes to Tennessee. Now he's lighting it up there.
My thing with your argument, with piping up Jalen Hurts, and I like you said, we all watched Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma and also at Alabama. All right, we all know how talented this kid is, and I'm not arguing that. My thing is with everything, and I'm going to go back to the one thing that we are struggling with, and that is coaching. All right. Let's say for example, that we do trade Carson Wentz. Is this offense, is this coaching staff, is Doug Peterson going to put Jalen Hurts in a position where he can succeed? Is he going to put him in a position where Jalen Hurts will be allowed to be Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is a smart quarterback. All right.
As of right now, T, you make a good argument there, because I could argue definitely you're right. You know, we don't have the coaching staff to put Hurts in the key situation. It also goes back to the drafting. If we were to trade these guys, are we in a good position to draft good players? And we're not. So that's where the issue starts. And I like Tanner's point. You have to start above. You don't start with the players. You start with the leadership. Doug, I'm not going to start there. I start with Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is the first guy that has to go for me. Like,
honestly, we can all say that Jalen Hurts is a very smart player. We've seen him play. He makes very intelligent decisions. He knows where he wants to put that ball, and he puts that ball in very good locations. There's no doubt about that. However, to coach him up in the NFL, that's another thing. And look at what they've done to Carson Wentz. They've basically broke him, unfortunately. Yeah. Carson Wentz is almost like a broken toy that you can't be repaired.
Yeah. And listen, tempers are high. Frustration is building. Our patience, is teetering back and forth. I know we don't have a lot of patience as Philly sports fans, but I guess it's just a work in progress. We'll see what they do this weekend against Baltimore, see if they can scratch out a W. I just don't see it happening.
And 9.5 dogs. Ooh.
Yep, especially at home. I know there's going to be fans back at the link, so shout out to them. But,
I'm sorry for the massacre that y'all about to see.
I know that we're short on time here. I want to throw it to Tanner real quick and see if he's got a couple more topics he can throw our way.
You know what? Let's just end the show on a positive note and talk about things that you liked seeing this season from players, whether it's team or player. Who has impressed you the most this season?
I like that question. T, I'll let you go first.
Ooh, you're going to start off with me. I have got to bring this guy up. I personally love him because I love his style of play. I love the contact. I love how he lives for the contact. And recently, his highlight just made it on ESPN and all around the world. And that is Derrick Henry. Okay? Derrick Henry is a straight up animal. Every single time I think that he's not going to get better, he gets better. Okay? First off, I brought up this stat to you guys. This man ran for over 12,000 yards in his career in high school. Think about that for a minute. 12,000 yards in 4 years. All right? That's about a little over 3,000 a pop.
Yeah.
This kid, man, Derrick Henry is a monster. What he did to Josh Norman should be illegal. All right, that man should be arrested for manslaughter. All right,
it's ridiculous.
I've never seen a human get tossed off like that. Jeez.
I appreciate Derrick Henry because I have him on my fantasy team. a little in the beginning of the game, but his production towards the end was classic Derrick Henry. And he, as you mentioned, is just a beast.
Yeah.
Just a big running back. Perfect for running back position.
Bigger than his own lineman.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm going to throw it over here to the Cleveland Browns and give them a shout out at 4-1. Surprised. Definitely. They got a new coach, Kevin Stefanski, and they really do pound the rock. Nick Chubb got hurt, but before he did, they had a two-headed monster with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They run the football really well. Their line's definitely better and blocking really well. And, when they want to go play action, they have the talent on the outside to do that. Austin Hooper especially, they signed him, and they have Odell and Jarvis. The defense has always been kind of solid for the most part there in Cleveland. It's led by Myles Garrett. But, at 4-1, you gotta admit the Browns are a pretty serious contender. The only problem is look at the division they play in. They got to play Steelers twice. They got to play the Ravens twice, starting this weekend with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So shout out to the Browns, but again, tough road ahead. We'll see. And with that, we shut it down.
Oh man. Well, if you guys miss any of this painful episode, you can always go to Philly-Experience.simplecast.com. We are available on all major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the entire shabazz. Check out our mini-series, all right, Gridiron Films, and check out my boys, Birds. Oh, jeez, I'm drawing a blank. I'm tired.
It's okay.
I've just warned.
And the key thing, everybody, at the Philly Experience Podcast on Instagram, get constant news updates, film sessions, you get scores and all the transactions the Birds make during this season. Hopefully they make some big-time moves in the trade deadline. We'll see.
Get rid of players, please. What do you got to lose?
Also, don't forget to watch Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, future first-time MVP at the end of this season.
You better get it.
You can't go wrong watching a game with Russell Wilson in it.
You better get it at this point.
You piece of Swiss cheese!
We should move it on to sports.
Shut your yeah.
He pisses me off.
In my opinion, that sucked.
My turn!